For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Shotgun Spratling for instant analysis of USC's Monday practice of Arizona State week. Now, Shotgun, I said Monday. That seems a little different to me. Usually I'm saying Tuesday. What's going on with the practice schedule this week?
Well, just because this week is an election week, election day on Tuesday, so the NCAA mandated going forward that all election days student athletes would have the opportunity to go and vote if they so choose to. So USC actually moved their schedule. Their normal Monday kind of walk-through practice they did on Sunday, and then today on Monday they did their normal Tuesday practice in full pads. So we're out here on Monday a little bit early this week.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was the first open practice we got to see since we saw both Keaton Slovis and Jackson Dart get playing time on Saturday. It's interesting, Shotgun, we were trying to get an answer from both Dante Williams and the quarterbacks. Do you know how much you're going to play on Saturday? What's really the schedule going forward? And it sounds like we really don't have an answer yet, at least publicly.
Yeah, I don't think that the quarterbacks actually know yet. I don't think that they've been informed of what exactly the plan is going to be. I think the coaches are still formulating what it's going to be, and depending on maybe some of the film they see against Arizona State, some things that they think they can exploit. But last week they found out the quarterbacks were informed Friday night before the game. I think they'll find out a couple days, maybe earlier, maybe on Thursday. But I think the coaches are still trying to figure it out themselves, and they're not trying to give anything away. So, right now we're seeing both quarterbacks get some reps. A little bit different as far as the reps this week. It seemed like from previous weeks, it looked like Jackson Dart got a little bit more first-team reps while also taking the second-team reps as well. So, I think that they're planning to have both those guys participate going forward throughout the rest of the season. And as long as everyone's healthy, I think both guys will be in there, at least for now. We'll see if anything changes going forward, but I think it'll be similar to last week. I think you're going to see both quarterbacks playing against Arizona State. Now, how much they play, what's the sequence of them playing, I think that's all still to be determined right now.
Mm-hmm. And Dante Williams said they'll try to figure out what's best for the team. Why is a two-quarterback system what they're going with now? What advantages does that give USC?
I think it's just two different quarterbacks for a team to prepare for. Obviously, Jackson Dart can do a little bit different things than Keaton Slovis, so if they actually use his legs, something they didn't really do in the last game, then I think that gives a team like Arizona State two things to prepare for. Okay, what do you do on the read option when Jackson Dart's in versus when Keaton Slovis is running it? It's going to be more of a true run-pass option versus a quarterback run versus a running back run. So I think those are some differences, and just forces the opposition to prepare for multiple things, and potential of doing some different things with Jackson Dart in there.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, we got to talk to both Slovis and Dart. How do you think that they're handling this transition almost, since they don't really know what to expect on Saturday?
I think it's tough for Keaton Slovis, obviously being a 3-year starter and suddenly losing some reps to a guy like Jackson Dart, because before we were told about a Dart package, and that told me, hey, short yardage situations, red zone, some special things that they'll do with Dart to try to use his legs. But that wasn't the case on Saturday. It was a Dart series and a couple of series for him. So it sounds like it's more of a two-quarterback system now more than a Dart package. So for Keaton Slovis, you're losing reps, and something he's going to have to learn to do is, how do you kind of deal with being on the sideline? This is something he's not really done in his career. I mean, he had one game, that first half of the Fresno State game. Yeah. So when he's been healthy, he has not been on the sideline and, waiting to see, am I going to go in? So it's a little bit different for him there. Asked Jackson Dart about how he kind of is handling it, knowing I'm going to go in a couple of drives. Okay, what do I do in preparation? He said, you get a little bit of butterflies as the time gets closer and closer to your opportunity. But, the biggest thing for those two guys going forward, and they both mentioned it, is going to be communication. What did you see on that? Where is the safety plan? What are the linebackers doing differently when you were in there versus maybe the drive previously? How are they adapting on defense? And that's something Keaton Slovis mentioned on Saturday after the game, is that he didn't feel like he could read the outside linebacker. Said that he had been kind of moving a little bit further out on that interception, and he talked about it today and said he's got to have a better communication with Jackson Dart and be able to see that, because Dart said afterwards, oh yeah, I saw that he was moving a little bit. So those two guys are going to have to work really well together, and it's a difficult situation because you're competing against that other guy. You're trying to, Dart's trying to take over that role. Slovis is trying to keep him at bay. And, those two guys have to work together for this team to be at its best.
Mm-hmm. Now, Monday also marked the first practice we saw Drake London since he went down against Arizona. We did hear from Dante Williams in his Sunday night presser that Drake did break his ankle and will be out for the rest of the season. I know it's an impossible task, but how do you make up for a guy like Drake London?
Well, what everyone's saying is next man up mentality, and someone's going to have to step up and fill that role. But it's going to be everyone has to step up. No one's going to step in and just take over that production. You're not going to target anyone 20 times in a game like you were Drake London. And Graham Harrell I thought was interesting. He was asked about Keontae Ingram and, hey, maybe do you run the ball more? He said, hey, we got to get our playmakers in space, and that's what they try to do all the time. And that's why he said you're seeing the volume of targets that Drake London got. He said you want to get your best players, your special players, give them the most opportunities. So who's going to step up? I think rather than someone stepping in and, whether it's a Kyle Ford or someone from the reserve stepping up and taking that starting position, I don't think anyone's going to get 10 or 12 targets, in place of Drake London. I think it's going to be spread out between those wide receivers. You're going to see Kyle Ford in there, I think, a little bit more. I think you'll see, more targets for Taj Washington, more targets for Gary Bryant. And I think they can do some different things, and maybe one of those young guys, Michael Jackson, Joseph Manjack, even Kyron Ware-Hudson, a guy that we haven't seen much this season because of a hamstring issue, maybe one of those guys steps up as well and gets some more playing time too.
Mm-hmm. Dante Williams also mentioned that tight ends could have an increased role, and we did see one tight end have a pretty good practice today.
Yeah, Lake McCree is a guy I think is really coming on. I think he's got to the point as a freshman where, it's either you hit the wall and you or you figure it out. One of the two.
Yeah.
You either stumble and struggle down the stretch, or I've got this. I understand the speed. He got his first playing opportunities on Saturday, and he had his first catch as well. And now moving forward, I think he's a guy that could be a weapon at least until Michael Trigg gets back, because he's similar. He's a pass catching tight end. Now, one of the things that he said that he's been really working on is the blocking aspect of it, and that's what they're looking for. Somebody that can do both. But he's a guy that, especially today in the one-on-ones, really had a nice practice. Working some of the DBs out there. He's a guy that's earned more reps, and last week he got some first and second team, so he said he felt like he may have an opportunity to get in the game, and when he did, he made the most of it. So that's what you're looking for out of your young guys, and Lake McCree's a guy that stepped up. So we'll see if he can continue to improve as the season goes on, if he becomes more of a tight end option, because they're going to have to throw the ball to the tight ends a little bit more. They're going to have to use the whole field a little bit more with Drake London being out. So that means not only the wide receivers got to step up, the tight ends have to step up, and the running backs. Maybe we'll see a little bit more pass game for them. Keontae Ingram said that he would love to be involved a little bit more in the pass game. Mm-hmm. And again, it's getting your playmakers the ball in space and letting them try to beat someone. And that's what Keontae Ingram did really well in the run game last game. So we'll see against Arizona State with a much stiffer defense than Arizona if they can do that again.
Mm-hmm. Personnel-wise, we can't be exactly sure about everyone considering it's a Monday, so maybe there's some class conflicts, but it does seem like the Trojans are more banged up than we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, definitely. There was a couple guys that missed practice. Chris Steele, which Dante Williams said there was a health and safety protocol. Hunter Eccles was also out. There's a couple of guys that were missing, but more guys on Rehab Island. And, noting it Saturday, there was a ton of guys that were in the gray sweatsuits of all the injured guys. I think it's just kind of the injuries are kind of stockpiling on them. They had done really well through the bye week, had been pretty healthy. And then, unfortunately, now you lose Drake London, huge injury there. But you've got a bunch of guys that are banged up as well on the defensive line. Nick Figueroa, Jamar Sakona did come back today, which is a positive sign. But you've got a couple of guys there that are missing some time. So we saw more Maximus Gibbs. We saw some Colin Mobley getting in there. 2 freshmen getting some opportunities. So we'll see how that group in particular can improve. But you got to be a little bit worried with the number of injuries USC is having right now, especially on the lines. Defensive line and the offensive line, we did not see Cortland Ford practicing today. He was on Rehab Island as well. He did not play the second half on Saturday. So Andrew Voorhees actually took the left tackle snaps, with Justin Dietich getting the majority of the first team left guard snaps. So another issue or another concern for USC is the offensive line depth and the defensive line depth, because there's been a number of backups that have been banged up on the offensive line, but they hadn't lost any starters until now. So we'll see if they can pick the pieces up, and if Cortland Ford's going to be available. Dante Williams did say that he would be available. He talked about a couple other guys, said, they'll be fine. Darwin Barlow was wearing a non-contact jersey today after banging his shoulder up. So we'll see how those guys progress as the week goes on, on Saturday, if everyone's ready to go or not.
Mm-hmm. And Dante Williams did say it's helpful having Tuesday off, because at least you get a practice and then you kind of rest up a little bit. So we'll definitely be sure to check out injuries on Wednesday and give you that report there. But Chaka, any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
No, it's going to be interesting for the offense what they do going forward. I think you got to lean on the run game a little bit more, but I'm curious to see who does step up. Is it going to be a Kyle Ford? Is it going to be one of those young freshmen, or does one of those tight ends? Eric Cromanhook got some more targets today in the seam and doing some different things, so maybe that's an option for them. But Keontae Ingram has looked really good the last couple of weeks, and I asked him about having 27 carries, which is a pretty big number nowadays in college football when you have so many split systems with 2 running backs, and he said said, my body's a little bit sore, but I can take it. And, I asked him, with Drake London out, do you think you guys should run the ball more? And he had a little bit of a grin on his face. He said, I'm a running back. Of course I think we should run the ball more. So we'll see if that's the case for them going forward. He's been really special the last couple of weeks, and we'll see what he can do against the Arizona State defense.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bias there for Keontae, but it makes sense. It's understandable. All right, that's going to wrap it up for USC's Monday practice of Arizona State week. For Shotgun Spratling, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.